Chosen one. Heaven pauses for you right now. This is not ordinary time. The room around you may look the same, but in the spirit realm, everything has shifted. God Himself is leaning toward you, making sure you do not miss this. Your life has always carried weight. You have felt different, marked, set apart, and that is because you have been carrying someone in your heart, a name, a face, a story you cannot shake off. You have thought about stepping away, about closing the door, about saying, enough is enough. But right now, the voice of God thunders, do not dare to give up. This is not about emotion. This is about destiny. You wonder why their image lingers in your spirit. Why, even when you try to forget, something pulls you back into intercession. That is not weakness. That is not foolishness. That is divine assignment. Just as Esther was positioned for such a time as this, you are positioned for this one person's turning point. Your presence in their life is not random. It is orchestrated by the hand of heaven. Yes, you are tired. Yes, you have felt invisible in your sacrifice. You have whispered prayers when no one was watching, only to see little change on the surface. But hear this, when you intercede, you are like a torch burning in the unseen. Darkness trembles because your light has not gone out. You are a living reminder that mercy has not stepped aside yet. The Word of God declares in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest, if we do not give up. Chosen one. This is heaven's seal on you today. Your endurance is not wasted. Your prayers are seeds in the soil. Just because you have not seen the harvest does not mean it is not coming. Do not cut down the tree before its season to bear fruit. There is a story of a man who prayed for his friend for years. This friend mocked faith, rejected every invitation, and sank into bitterness. Many told him, stop wasting your time, but he kept going. Years later, on what seemed like the darkest night of that friend's life, he reached out and said, tell me about your God. That moment was not sudden, it was the harvest of years of faithful prayer. Your story carries the same thread. Heaven counts every tear, every whispered plea. Think of yourself as a violin string, pulled tight, stretched until it feels like you could snap. But only when it is stretched does it produce the sound it was designed to release. This tension in your spirit is not destruction, it is preparation for the music of breakthrough. Now pause and act. If this word speaks to you, let it echo back to heaven. Like this message, so more can be reached. Share it with someone else who is in a waiting season. And subscribe so you can continue receiving what heaven is pouring out here. But most importantly, write in the comments this prophetic number, 444. This is the number of endurance, of standing firm, of refusing to quit when everything tells you to walk away. Let it be your declaration, I will not give up. Now, you are the chosen one. Your assignment is sacred, and your persistence is unlocking doors you cannot yet see. Chosen one. Let this sink into your spirit. What feels like delay is often divine timing. God is never late, and He is never careless. The person on your heart may seem far, but heaven knows exactly where they are. Every prayer you have prayed is like water dripping on a stone. It may look like nothing is happening, until one day the rock breaks and living water flows. Do not confuse silence with absence. The silence is training your ears to hear whispers. The stillness is sharpening your vision to notice small movements. And sometimes, the quiet season is not about them at all, it is about you. You are being refined in fire, not to destroy you, but to make your faith unshakable. Imagine a seed buried underground. For weeks, nothing appears. The soil looks empty, lifeless. Yet beneath the surface, roots are growing strong, unseen. One morning, without warning, a green shoot pierces through. That is what your prayers are doing for this person. Growth is happening beneath the soil of their life. Chosen one, heaven applauds your endurance. You are not standing in vain. Keep your hands lifted. Keep your faith steady. And keep your heart open. You will live to see the harvest of your prayers. The person on your heart is not there by accident. You have tried to reason it away, telling yourself, maybe I'm just overthinking. Maybe I should move on. Yet no matter how far you try to push their name aside, it always returns. That is because heaven placed them in your spirit as a divine burden. You are not bound by emotion, you are bound by calling. You see, God often entrusts his chosen ones with people who look impossible, people whose walls are too high, whose hearts are too hard, whose choices seem too reckless. He doesn't choose you because it will be easy. He chooses you because he trusts your endurance. The one on your heart is not simply a person, they are a mission. Think of the prophet Hosea. He was called to love someone who kept running the other way, to the world. His assignment looked foolish, but heaven called it obedience. Your situation may not look the same, but the principle is no different. The one you are carrying is a picture of redemption. To hold on when others let go is to mirror the heart of God himself. There will be nights when you whisper, "Why me? Lord, why can't I just walk away like everyone else?" And heaven answers, because you are chosen, because your love is not natural, it is supernatural. God has given you his heart for this person, and that is why you cannot detach. No matter how much you try, you must also understand this. The enemy hates divine connections. He knows when two lives are tied together by purpose. That is why the pressure intensifies, why discouragement screams louder, why the thought of quitting feels so tempting. Darkness wants you to believe that your prayers are useless, but in reality, your persistence is a weapon piercing through unseen strongholds. Picture a blacksmith hammering a blade. Strike after strike. Nothing seems to change, but sparks flying. Yet with every hit, the steel is being shaped into something sharp and unbreakable. Your intercession works the same way. You may not see results immediately, but every word you release in prayer is a strike shaping their destiny. Sometimes you wonder if your presence even matters to them. Maybe they don't notice. Maybe they even reject you. But do not measure your impact by their current response. Remember Joseph. His brothers rejected him, betrayed him, and sold him away. Yet years later, the very ones who dismissed him were saved through the destiny he carried. What looks like rejection today may one day reveal the reason you were chosen to stand. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 31, verse 16. Restrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your work will be rewarded, declares the Lord. Let that echo in you. Heaven sees what costs you. Your tears are not invisible. Your endurance is not forgotten. The very act of holding on when you could have walked away is the proof of your obedience. And yes, it is hard. Faith always feels like standing on a cliff with nothing beneath your feet. But what you cannot see is that God's hand is holding you steady. You are not falling, you are being carried. Consider the image of an anchor in the storm. The waves rage. The winds scream. The ship shakes. But because of that one anchor hidden beneath the waters, the vessel does not drift away. You are that anchor in someone's storm. They may not realize it yet, but your presence is keeping them from being swept completely into destruction. Chosen one. This is why you cannot let go. The weight is not punishment, it is privilege. Heaven looked across the earth and found you strong enough to bear it, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing, and in your willingness, God's strength is magnified. So do not misinterpret the delay. Do not misinterpret their silence or resistance. The deeper the struggle, the greater the story of redemption will be. You are writing chapters with your prayers that will one day be read in their testimony. Hold on, stay faithful, and remember, heaven does not make mistakes when it assigns a soul into your care. And when that day comes, you will see clearly why you were asked to hold on. The very prayers that once felt heavy will become the foundation of someone else's freedom. Your endurance will not just save them, it will transform you. You will look back and realize that God was shaping both of you through this journey. That is why giving up is not an option. The enemy's whisper is always subtle, never loud at first. He comes like a shadow at the edge of your thoughts, suggesting that it would be easier if you just stopped caring, stopped waiting, stopped praying. It tells you, you've done enough. Walk away. These whispers seem harmless, but they are deadly, because the moment you agree with them, you step out of your assignment. Do not underestimate these whispers. Adam and Eve fell not because of a shout, but because of a question. Did God really say? The serpent does not need to convince you all at once. He only needs to plant doubt. And if watered long enough, doubt grows into disobedience. The person you are carrying in prayer is valuable. That is why darkness is fighting so hard to make you release them. The devil does not waste his energy on those with no future. If the battle over this one soul is so fierce, it is because their destiny is enormous. Remember Peter. On the night Jesus was betrayed, the enemy demanded to sift him like wheat. Yet Jesus said, "But I have prayed for you, that your faith may not fail." That is intercession. That is standing in the gap when someone cannot stand for themselves. And that is exactly what you are doing for the one on your heart. Sometimes, you wonder why the attacks against you feel personal, why it seems like your peace is shaken, your strength drained, your hope attacked. The reason is clear. If the enemy can break the intercessor, he can keep the captive bound. But if you endure, you become the chain breaker heaven uses. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 19. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. Chosen one. That is your assurance. You are not promised an easy journey, but you are promised ultimate victory. Every trouble you endure is matched with a greater deliverance. Now picture this. You are like a candle in a dark room. One candle does not remove all the shadows, but it breaks their authority. A single flame can keep despair from swallowing an entire space. That is your role right now. You are carrying light for someone who has forgotten how to burn. Do not despise the fight. The fiercer the resistance, the greater the confirmation that you are standing in the right place. You have been entrusted with this person because heaven saw in you a warrior willing to endure when others would give up. And now, I ask you to take a small but powerful step. In the comments, write these words: I choose faith. End 1. Why? Because every time you say it, you silence the enemy's whisper that says, quit. By writing, I choose faith, you are planting a flag in the spirit, declaring that you will stand, you will trust, and you will not be moved. This simple sentence is not empty. It becomes a reminder that even when your emotions are weak, your decision is firm. It is your answer to doubt, your refusal to bow to fear, your declaration that your assignment is worth the endurance. Chosen one. Remember, you are not standing alone. Heaven backs you. Angels guard you. The Spirit strengthens you. And the one on your heart is not beyond the reach of grace. And when you type those words, I choose faith, you are not just joining a comment thread. You are stepping into a spiritual act of defiance against the enemy. It is as if you are standing on the battlefield, lifting your banner high for heaven and earth to see. The enemy wants you silent, hidden, uncertain. But faith speaks. Faith declares. Faith refuses to shrink back. Every time you proclaim those words, it reshapes the atmosphere around you. Thaupt lucis oxygen, fiar loses grip. Heaven records your confession, and angels respond to it. This is why it matters. Your choice of faith today may be the shield that guards someone else tomorrow. Do not overlook the small steps. A seed looks small, yet it carries an entire forest inside. A single word of faith may seem simple, yet it carries the power to shift destinies. Your declaration is like striking a match in the darkness. The flame may start small, but it has the potential to ignite a wildfire of hope. Chosen one. Your faith is not fragile. It is forged in fire. And the very whisper that tries to make you quit will become the proof that you were always chosen to stand. There comes a moment when you must see clearly what weighs on your heart is not a burden of chance, but a divine assignment. The world may call it obsession, overthinking, or even weakness, but heaven calls it stewardship. You have been entrusted with a life, with a soul, with a destiny too precious to release. Think of Moses, standing on the mountain while Israel fought in the valley. His hands lifted were not just a gesture, they were the lifeline of an entire nation. Every time his arms stayed raised, Israel prevailed. Every time they fell, the enemy pushed forward. It was not Joshua's sword alone that decided the battle, but Moses' endurance on the mountain. That is what intercession looks like. It is invisible to men, but undeniable to heaven. So it is with you. Your prayers may not make headlines. Your endurance may not be celebrated. But every whisper you make before God shifts the balance in the unseen. You are fighting for someone who cannot fight for themselves. You are holding them up in a battle they may not even realize they are in. Do not think lightly of this role. It is not weakness to carry someone. It is strength clothed in humility. Even Paul, the apostle, begged the churches to pray for him so that his mission would not fail. If Paul needed intercession, how much more do the people around you? The person you are carrying may seem far away, stubborn, unchanging. They may even push you away. But look deeper. Resistance is often the final sign before breakthrough. When darkness senses its grip loosening, it fights harder. That is why, just when you feel closest to quitting, heaven urges you not to let go. According to what is revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 1, we who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. Chosen one. That verse is a mirror of your assignment. You are strong not for your own sake, but for theirs. You carry the weight not to crush you, but to lift them. Sometimes, this path feels lonely. You look around and see others living lightly, while you are tied to a mission that feels heavy. You wonder, why me? Why do I have to carry this when no one else does? But chosen vessels are not called to comfort, they are called to covenant. Your covenant with heaven is not to abandon the one entrusted to you. Imagine a shepherd in the wilderness. 99 sheep are safe, grazing together. Yet one wanders away. The shepherd does not say, "At least the others are here." He leaves the 99 and pursues the one. That pursuit looks reckless to the crowd, but it looks like love to heaven. You, chosen one, are carrying out that same pursuit. And yes, it takes patience. Patience that feels like fire in your chest. Patience that makes you question your own strength. But patience is not wasted time. It is the stage where God performs the quiet miracles of transformation. What you see as waiting is actually heaven building a bridge, stone by stone, until one day, the person you're praying for will cross it back into light. Do not despise your tears. They water the ground of someone else's salvation. Do not despise your sighs. They rise as incense before God, filling bowls in heaven until they overflow in answers. Your sacrifice is not forgotten. Picture yourself as a watchman on the wall. The city sleeps, unaware of approaching danger. The watchman does not sleep, because he sees what others cannot. His eyes scan the horizon. His voice alerts. His presence protects. You are that watchman. You are positioned where you are, not for your own comfort, but for the safety of another soul. This is why you cannot abandon the assignment. Heaven has trusted you with their name, their story, their future. And though your arms may grow weary, know that God Himself is your strength. You are not holding them alone. Grace undergirds you. Mercy surrounds you, and the Spirit prays through you with groans deeper than words. Chosen one. Never think your intercession is invisible. It is noticed in heaven, feared in hell, and shaping the earth even now. Stay faithful, for in your unseen endurance lies someone else's tomorrow. And when the breakthrough finally comes, you will understand why heaven would not let you quit. Every sigh, every silent prayer, every tear shed in secret will stand as proof that love never gave up. The one you carried will rise, and you will know that your endurance was not in vain. What felt like a burden was always a crown in disguise, shaping you into a vessel of unshakable faith. Do not abandon them. The weight you feel in your spirit is not a curse. It is proof that you are chosen to stand in this exact gap. When everyone else has walked away, you remain. And that remaining is not weakness. It is the strongest form of love heaven has placed inside you. Think of a tree in the middle of a dry season. The ground cracks. The sun burns. The leaves wither. Many plants fall away. Yet there is that one tree whose roots go deep, even when the surface looks barren. It still stands. Still provides shelter. still offers shelter. Chosen one, you are that tree. You are rooted for someone else's survival. Sometimes it feels lonely, but heaven sees it all, and heaven is whispering, do not let go now, because the very moment you feel most like quitting is often the moment right before the shift comes. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7. The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him. And that is what you are building for someone else, a refuge in their storm, a shelter in their time of trouble. And while you carry this weight, let me speak gently to your heart. You are not meant to walk this road entirely alone. Yes, your assignment is unique, but your journey is part of a larger family of faith. That is why I invite you, if this message resonates, to stay connected like this word. Share it with someone else who may need the same reminder. And subscribe so you do not miss the next moment. Heaven pauses for you. And if you ever feel stirred in your spirit, there is also a way to plant into this ground. Think of it like adding oil to a lamp. The flame is already burning, but your oil allows it to shine brighter, longer, and to reach farther into the darkness. When you give, whether through prayer, support, or even a donation, you are not paying for a message. You are fueling the light so it can travel into more hearts that are waiting, just like you once were. Picture it another way. A farmer placing a small seed into dry ground during a drought. At first, nothing seems to happen, but when the rains finally fall, that one seed bursts into life, bringing food, shade, and fruit for many. Your gift works the same way. It may feel small now, but in the right season, it multiplies into blessings you could never imagine. No one is forced. No one is measured by it. It is not about the size of the gift, but the sincerity of the heart. A drop of water may look small, but when joined with other drops, it becomes a river that quenches entire lands. Your support is like that drop together. They become streams of life, reaching souls across the nations. And maybe you say, I don't have much. Remember the widow's 2 coins. To the world, it looked like nothing. To heaven, it was everything, because she gave not out of excess, but out of faith. And God called her offering greater than all the others. That is the way heaven sees every act of support: pure, voluntary, eternal. But hear this clearly. You are not under pressure. You are not under obligation. You are under invitation. Just as you are invited to hold on for the one you love, you are invited to join in carrying this light further. If you cannot, your presence alone is already a gift. If you can, your oil multiplies the impact. Both are seen. Both are honored. Both matter to heaven. Chosen one, let this picture guide you. A lighthouse standing strong by the sea. Its light cuts through fog, storms, and darkness, guiding ships home. Yet behind that shining beacon is someone who keeps the oil filled, who tends the flame faithfully so it never dies out. Without the oil keeper, the light would fade. When you share, when you support, you step into the role of the oil keeper, ensuring the flame continues to shine. That is why I speak this from the deepest sincerity. Your generosity, whether in prayer, in encouragement, or in giving, is never wasted. It is seed sown into eternity. And just as you are carrying someone on your heart, heaven will raise others to carry you, when you need it most. So hold steady, stand firm, do not abandon them now, and know that even in your smallest actions, your comment, your prayer, your share, your gift, you are participating in a story larger than yourself. The one you carry will rise, and you will see with your own eyes that your endurance was not in vain. Prophetic numbers speak. They are not games of chance or codes invented by people. They are reminders, anchors, markers of alignment with heaven's will. Numbers in Scripture have always carried meaning. 40 days of testing, 12 tribes of Israel, 7 seals in Revelation. Each number is a signpost of God's order, His rhythm woven into time. And right now, heaven places a new number before you as a call to stand firm for the one you carry in your heart. Do not see it as random. See it as confirmation. You have asked, Lord, is this really you? Should I still hold on? And heaven answers, not in thunder, not in fire, but in a simple whisper through a number. Your burden is not ordinary, and neither is your calling. The person you are tempted to give up on is not an interruption in your life. They are an assignment sealed by God's hand. To walk away now would be to walk away from something sacred. Remember Gideon had felt weak, small, the least in his family. Yet God called him to lead Israel with 300 men against armies too numerous to count. To Gideon, the numbers looked like failure. To God, they looked like strategy. And so it is with you. The odds may not make sense, but heaven's math is different. Where others see loss, God see victory. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 13, if we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny Himself. 1. That is your anchor, even when your faith shakes. God's faith does not. Even when your grip feels weak, His grip holds you, and the one you are interceding for firm. Think of yourself as a bridge. A bridge does not walk itself, yet it carries others across to safety. Sometimes it feels heavy, unmoving, even unnoticed. But without the bridge, the journey cannot be completed. You are that bridge right now. Your prayers, your endurance, your persistence are carrying someone from the wilderness of despair to the shore of hope. And now heaven calls you to seal this moment with a prophetic act. In the comments, write this number, 888. Do not dismiss it as simple digits. Write it with intention. 888 is a sign of new beginnings, overflowing with eternity. It is the triple witness of resurrection, abundance, and God's eternal covenant. It is the number that declares, the story is not over. The ending will not be death, and life is rising again. When you write 888, you are declaring, I align myself with resurrection life. I will not quit on this person, because heaven has already marked their story with new beginnings. This is more than a number. It is a banner over your assignment. Do not underestimate what this does. By marking this number, you are anchoring yourself to God's promise. You are also testifying that you will not quit on the one God has placed in your care. It is a quiet but powerful declaration in the unseen realm. Think of a lighthouse keeper again. Every night, they light the fire, not knowing which ship will need it. Some nights, no ship appears. Other nights, one soul sees the light and is saved from destruction. The keeper does not wait for applause. They keep the fire burning regardless. You, chosen one, are doing the same. Every prayer is another spark, keeping the flame alive for someone lost in the dark. And maybe you have asked yourself, what if I keep standing and nothing changes? But hear this, every time you choose not to quit, you defeat the enemy's scheme. Change is already happening in the unseen. Just as clouds gather before rain falls, so your prayers are gathering until the breakthrough bursts forth. Chosen one, prophetic numbers are reminders that you are not crazy, not lost, not forgotten. They are heaven's way of telling you, I see you, I know what you carry, and I will finish what I started. End of. So stand firm. Write 888 with conviction, and let your spirit rise again, knowing you are aligned with heaven's rhythm of eternal new beginnings. And remember this, 888 is not just a number you type, it is a statement of faith that heaven records. When you choose to write it, you are placing a stone of remembrance. Like Joshua did when Israel crossed the Jordan, those stones told generations, here, God moved. Oh, so too, your declaration today becomes a marker. Days from now, when doubt whispers again, you can look back and remind yourself, I chose resurrection over resignation. I chose life over despair. And heaven will honor that choice, breathing strength into your spirit when you need it most. You carry their breakthrough. It may not feel like it, but the truth is hidden in the invisible weight you bear. Every whispered prayer, every sigh you release in God's presence, every night you wrestle between giving up and holding on, all of it is shaping their tomorrow. You may not see it immediately, but the unseen is always at work before the visible changes appear. Think of Elijah on Mount Carmel. He prayed for rain when the land had been dry for years. He sent his servant to look at the horizon, not once, not twice, but 7 times. For 6 times, there was nothing. Only on the 7th did a small cloud rise, no larger than a man's hand. That tiny cloud held the promise of a storm that would drench the earth. In the same way, your prayers may look like nothing to others, but heaven knows the storm of breakthrough is already forming. Breakthroughs rarely appear sudden. They are born in silence, watered in tears, and carried in endurance. The person you are holding up may not know it, but they are being sustained by the strength of your intercession. What you carry for them is not a burden to crush you, but a mantle to shape you. Consider the words written in Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 10. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. Oh, this verse breathes life into your assignment. God sees, God remembers. Even if no human applauds you, heaven counts every act of love, every prayer, every tear, as treasures in his sight. Think of yourself like a midwife in the spirit. The child is not yours, but you labor alongside the mother, urging, supporting, breathing with her until life emerges. It is painful, messy, exhausting, but it is also holy. And when the cry of new life finally pierces the silence, the struggle makes sense. That is your role now, laboring in the spirit for a birth that will change everything. There is also something mysterious about intercession. In the process of carrying someone else's breakthrough, you often discover your own. God refines you as much as he rescues them. Your patience deepens, Your faith strengthens. Your love stretches farther than you imagined. You become more like Christ, not through comfort, but through sacrifice. Jesus himself intercedes. Even now, seated at the right hand of the Father, he prays for us. If the Son of God does not consider intercession beneath him, how much more honored are you to be called into the same work? To intercede is to mirror heaven, to reflect Christ, to stand where few are willing to stand. Imagine holding a rope tied around someone who is dangling off a cliff. They may not realize how close they are to falling. They may even resist being pulled up. But you, chosen one, refuse to let go. Your hands burn, your muscles ash, but you know the weight is worth it. Because if you release now, the fall could be fatal. This is the kind of love heaven has poured into you. A love that endures beyond logic, beyond comfort, beyond self. You do not carry them because it is easy. You carry them because it is divine. And though it is heavy, remember this: you are not carrying them alone. The Spirit himself helps in our weakness, interceding with groans too deep for words. You are not the only one holding the rope. God's own hands are intertwined with yours. That is why you have not broken yet. That is why you are still standing. Chosen one. Never underestimate your role. You are a carrier of breakthrough, not only for them, but for yourself, for your family, for generations yet to come. You are writing a legacy of endurance, and heaven will one day show you the ripple effect of your faith. Do not measure your progress by what you see today. Measure it by the promise you hold. Just as Abraham hoped against hope, you too are called to believe beyond sight. And in due season, the breakthrough you carry will no longer be invisible. It will stand before you, living and undeniable. So endure, labor, carry the weight with joy, knowing that the crown awaiting you is brighter than the pain behind you. And when the day of breakthrough finally dawns, you will look back and understand every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every tear you sowed in secret. They were not wasted. They were seeds. Seeds that became fruit. Fruit that became testimony. Testimony that will one day remind others. Love never gives up, and prayer never returns empty. There is a battle you cannot see. The hidden struggle takes place beyond the surface, beyond the words and actions you observe in the one you are praying for. You look at them and see resistance, indifference, or even rebellion. But what is unfolding in the unseen realm is far more intense than their outward behavior. Spiritual battles are rarely obvious. They cloak themselves in everyday frustrations, sudden shifts of mood, unexpected conflicts, and delays that seem to stretch endlessly. But behind the curtain, forces of light and darkness wrestle over a single soul. That is why you feel the heaviness you cannot explain. It is not simply emotion. It is spiritual warfare. Remember Daniel. For 21 days he fasted and prayed, asking God for understanding. On the surface, nothing happened. But when the angel finally appeared, he explained that Daniel's prayer had been heard on the first day. Yet for 3 weeks, the messenger was delayed by spiritual opposition until Michael, one of the chief angels, came to help. What Daniel thought was silence was in fact a battle raging in the heavens. So it is with the one you are interceding for. Their life may look unchanged. Their choices may still break your heart. But in the unseen, Angels and demons are contending for their destiny. Every prayer you whisper adds weight to the side of victory. The Word of God declares in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." I, chosen one. This truth is why you cannot take what you see at face value. Their silence is not rejection. Their anger is not always personal. Their apathy is not the final word. Much of what frustrates you is not them. It is the resistance of darkness trying to hold them captive. Imagine a bird caught in a net. From afar, you might think the bird refuses to fly. You may even believe it has given up. But in reality, its wings are bound by something you cannot see at first glance. That is what the person on your heart is experiencing. Their struggle is not simply stubbornness, it is entanglement. Your prayers are the hands loosening the net, thread by thread, until they can fly again. And yes, this battle is exhausting. You wonder how long you can keep going. But battles are not won in a single strike. They are won in persistence. Think of a warrior in ancient times. Shield raised, sword lifted, holding the line not for minutes but for hours. Victory comes not only from skill, but from refusing to retreat. That is what you are doing. You are holding the line for someone who cannot hold it themselves. It is tempting to believe nothing is happening, but that is the lie. Darkness wants you to believe. The enemy's greatest weapon is discouragement. If he can convince you that your prayers are useless, you may lay down your weapon just before the turning point. But hear this, even your weakest prayer, spoken with trembling faith, carries weight in the unseen. The enemy trembles not at your eloquence, but at your persistence. Every whispered, "Lord, help them," echoes louder in the heavens than you imagine. Consider the image of waves crashing against a cliff. One wave may look powerless, but over time, the rock erodes, cracks, and gives way. Your prayers are those waves, consistent, relentless, unyielding. Each one chips away at chains that hold your loved one bound. And though you may not see the crack forming, it is there, chosen one. The hidden battle is real, but so is the hidden victory. Just as Daniel's answer was delayed, but not denied, so too your prayers are working even when the evidence is invisible. Do not let the unseen discourage you. Let it empower you. Because if the fight is this fierce, it means the destiny on the other side is greater than you can comprehend. So stand your ground. Keep praying. Even when the silence screams back, keep believing. Even when resistance rises, for every moment you endure in intercession, the unseen battle shifts closer to victory. One day, the veil will lift. What was hidden will be revealed, and you will see clearly that not a single prayer was wasted, not a single tear ignored, not a single moment of endurance forgotten. And when that revelation comes, you will realize that the unseen battle was never in vain. Every hidden moment of faith will stand as proof that love fought harder than darkness, and that God's hand was always moving behind the silence. There comes a moment when hesitation must end. You have lingered between walking away and holding on, caught in the tension of fatigue and hope. That tension is not unusual. It is the sign that you are standing at a spiritual crossroads. One direction leads to release, the other to endurance. And heaven is urging you to stay on the path of faith. Think about the prophet Elijah. He stood before Israel at Mount Carmel and asked them, "How long will you waver between two opinions?" The people were torn, unsure if they should follow Baal or the Lord. Their wavering delayed their breakthrough. It was only when they chose, when they declared their allegiance, that fire fell from heaven and everything changed. You may feel as though your prayers are weak or your faith inconsistent, but hesitation is the enemy's snare. He knows if he can keep you in the middle ground, you will never step fully into your calling. Yet the moment you declare, the moment you stand, heaven responds. According to what is revealed in the book of James, chapter 5, verse 16, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Do not underestimate this truth. Your words matter. Your intercession shakes heaven. Your faith, even when small, carries authority because it is anchored in God's Spirit. Picture yourself as a soldier standing on the front line. Behind you, there is a city that cannot defend itself. Before you, there is an army pressing hard. If you waver, the line weakens. If you stand, the line holds. That is what your prayers are doing right now, holding the line for the one who does not yet see the battle. And I want you to mark this moment with clarity. In the comments, write these words: "Hope still lives." And why this phrase? Because discouragement wants you to believe that the story is over, that the prayers are wasted, that the waiting is pointless. But by declaring, "Hope still lives," you are choosing to believe that even in silence, heaven is working, even in darkness. Light is preparing to break through. It is a statement that life has the final word, not despair. This act is not empty repetition. It is alignment. Every time your eyes see those words written by your own hand, it becomes a reminder that hope has not died. Hope is alive because Christ is alive. And as long as He lives, the person you carry is never beyond redemption. Chosen one, you have carried this weight for a reason. You may not see the end yet, but you are stronger than you think. Heaven trusts you because you are willing, and even when your knees shake, your spirit is anchored. So let your declaration rise. Speak it, write it, seal it. Hope still lives. And as you do, feel heaven's strength fill you, reminding you that hope is not an idea, it is a person, and His name is Jesus. And when you write those words, "Hope still lives," you are not just commenting under a message. You are stepping into the very heartbeat of Scripture itself. Hope is not fragile optimism. It is the anchor of the soul. It is what kept Noah building an ark while the skies were clear. What kept Joseph believing in dreams while sitting in a prison cell. What kept Paul singing hymns while chained in the dark. Hope is the seed that refuses to die even when buried in the ground. The enemy may cover it with soil, with shame, with failure, with delay. But hope always pushes upward toward the light. And every time you declare that hope still lives, you are watering that seed inside you. You are also watering it in the life of the one you are carrying. Think of a lantern in the night. Its glow may seem small compared to the vast darkness, but for someone lost, it is everything. Hope is that lantern. It may flicker, but it never disappears. And when you protect it, when you guard it, when you declare it, the flame grows brighter until it guides others home. Chosen one. Your declaration matters. Hope is contagious. When you say it, heaven hears, hell trembles, and your own spirit straightens. You remind yourself that you are not fighting for nothing. You are not praying into an empty sky. You are aligning with the God who has promised that his word never returns void. So let this phrase become a rhythm in your life. Whisper it when you wake. Breathe it when you feel weary. Write it when doubt knocks. Hope still lives because the God of hope is still on the throne. And one day, when the one you carry finally rises into freedom, you will look back and see that your hope was never misplaced. It was simply planted in advance, waiting for its season to bloom. This is not coincidence. You are here because heaven has paused everything to remind you. The weight you carry, the tears you've shed, the prayers you've whispered, they are not forgotten. Every step you've taken in faith is being written into a story bigger than yourself. And today, heaven is saying, stay faithful, because your obedience is unlocking doors for someone else. Think of it like this. You are holding a lantern in a long tunnel. Others may see only darkness, but because you refuse to put the flame out, they are able to keep walking forward. Your light is small, but it changes everything. Without it, the path is confusion. With it, there is direction, even in the midst of night. The scriptures say in Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 20, the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your days of sorrow will end. Chosen one, you are that light, not because of your perfection, but because you carry the flame heaven placed within you. And just as light naturally spreads without force, so too does your obedience. And while you continue to carry, let me speak gently to your heart about something important. The journey you are on is not meant to be walked in isolation. Every soldier needs a shield bearer. Every runner needs refreshment. Every flame needs oil. That is why, if this message has touched you, I encourage you to like it. Share it with someone else who may be fighting silently. And subscribe, so you don't miss the next word heaven is preparing for you. These simple acts are not about numbers. They are about multiplying the reach of light, so more people can find strength when they feel like giving up. And yes, there is another way to partner in this journey. Imagine a vineyard. The vines produce fruit, but only because someone tends the soil, waters the roots, and protects it from pests. That hidden work is unseen, yet it makes the harvest possible. When you donate, whether small or large, you are tending the soil. You are making it possible for this vineyard of words, hope, and encouragement to bear fruit in more lives. Think of a drop of rain. Alone, it seems small, but when joined with other drops, it becomes a river that carves valleys, nourishes fields, and sustains life. Your support is like that, drop never wasted, never unseen. When added to the flow of others, it creates a stream of life that reaches those who are thirsty for encouragement. Or imagine a candle in a great cathedral. One flame is beautiful, but when others bring their candles and light them from it, the entire hall glows with radiance. That is what happens when you choose to sow into this work. The flame already burns, but your contribution multiplies its glow until darkness has no corner to hide in. But hear this clearly, you are never pressured. You are never obligated. This is not about compulsion, it is about invitation. Just as you are invited to carry the person on your heart, you are invited to keep this flame shining brighter, whether you give through prayer, through encouragement, through a share, or through financial support. Every act is sacred. Each one is oil poured into the lamp of hope. And maybe you are in a season where you feel like the widow with only a small jar of oil. To her, it seemed insignificant, but in God's hands, it became enough to fill many vessels. Your gift, whether it feels great or tiny, can be multiplied by heaven to reach far beyond what you imagine. So let it be voluntary. Let it be beautiful. Let it be your way of saying, I will not only carry my own flame, I will help others carry theirs. That is the beauty of generosity. It is never lost, only transformed into light for someone else. Chosen one. You are not only standing for another person, you are also part of a much larger story. Every time you engage, every time you sow, every time you share, you are keeping hope alive in places you may never see with your own eyes. So keep standing, keep shining, and let your heart know this truth. Nothing you do in faith, no matter how small, is ever wasted in the kingdom of God. And when the day comes that the one you are carrying finally steps into freedom, you will see that every prayer, every share, every seed of generosity was part of heaven's tapestry. None of it was wasted. Each act of faith, no matter how small, will stand as eternal proof that light always conquers darkness. And love always writes the final word of the story. Mercy is still at work, even when everything looks broken, even when the one you are praying for seems too far gone. Heaven's mercy is not finished. The story is not sealed in despair, because God's compassion runs deeper than their rebellion. What you see as failure, God sees as a pause. What you think is the end, heaven calls the middle of a greater redemption. Think of Jonah. He ran in the opposite direction of his calling, boarded a ship to flee, and sank into the depths of the sea. To human eyes, it looked like a life wasted. But even in the belly of a fish, mercy was alive. God provided a place where Jonah could turn back, repent, and rise again. The same mercy that found Jonah in the depths is the mercy chasing after the one on your heart. Mercy does not excuse sin, but it delays judgment to give room for grace. That is why you cannot give up. Just because they stumble does not mean they are abandoned. Heaven's mercy keeps them within reach, waiting for the moment their heart softens and turns. The scriptures remind us in Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 22, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. Chosen one. Let those words steady you. The one you carry may be consumed by mistakes, yet God's compassion has not failed them. His love has kept them from destruction, and his patience has extended their days so that salvation can still come. Consider the story of the prodigal son. He squandered his inheritance, chose recklessness over wisdom, and ended in a pit of despair. By all logic, his father had every right to reject him, yet mercy painted a different ending. The father not only welcomed him home, but ran to embrace him. That same mercy waits to clothe the one you are interceding for. Sometimes you look at their choices and feel anger. Other times, you feel grief. But underneath those emotions, let mercy rise. Mercy is not denial, it is vision. It sees beyond current behavior into the possibility of transformation. It recognizes that no pit is too deep, no heart too cold, no story too ruined for God to redeem. Imagine a potter working with clay. The vessel collapses in his hands. Many would discard it as useless. But the potter begins again, reshaping, reforming, applying pressure until beauty emerges. That is mercy. It does not throw away the broken, it remakes it into something stronger. And know this, mercy is not only for them, but also for you. When you grow weary, when your heart feels heavy, mercy covers you too. It whispers, keep standing, keep loving, keep interceding. Without mercy, none of us would be here. With mercy, all of us have hope. Chosen one. There is a reason your spirit refuses to quit. Mercy is still active. While you wait, heaven is working. While you pray, God is weaving threads of redemption. While you cry, angels are dispatched to guard the one you love. Do not be deceived by delay. The longer mercy waits, the more complete the work will be. Sometimes God stretches the timeline not because he has forgotten, but because he is perfecting what needs to be healed. The wounds in their heart, the lies they believe, the chains they wear. Mercy is unraveling them piece by piece. Picture a sunrise. For hours the sky is dark. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, light begins to push back the night. At first it is only a faint glow, then a streak of gold, then the full brilliance of day. That is how mercy works. It begins quietly, then grows until the shadows vanish. So stand in confidence. What looks unfinished is still under construction. Mercy has not stepped back. It is still at work, patient and powerful. And one day, you will see with your own eyes that the one you prayed for was never too far gone. They were simply a canvas where God chose to display his mercy more vividly. And when that day arrives, you will marvel at how mercy wrote the story differently than you imagined. You thought it was over. Yet, mercy whispered, "Not yet." You believed the chapter was closed. Yet mercy turned the page and began anew. The scars that once seemed permanent will become testimonies of grace. The brokenness that once defined them will shine as proof that God's compassion never failed. And you, chosen one, will know deep within your spirit that your waiting was not wasted. It was the stage where mercy revealed its greatest beauty. There is a moment when heaven calls for a response, not because God needs proof, but because your spirit needs an anchor. That anchor often comes in the form of a prophetic act, something simple yet profound. When you write, when you declare, when you mark the moment, it becomes harder for doubt to steal what God has spoken to your heart. Think of Joshua leading Israel across the Jordan River. When the waters parted and the people crossed on dry ground, God told them to pick up 12 stones from the riverbed. Those stones were not for decoration. They were markers, reminders to future generations that God had moved. Every time the children of Israel saw those stones, they remembered the miracle. Your prophetic act today is like those stones, a marker that says, "Here, God spoke. Here, I chose to obey." The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58, "Stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." 1. This word is alive for you. The one you are holding in prayer may not see the weight you carry, but heaven does. Your labor is not in vain, not one tear wasted, not one prayer unheard, not one act of faith unnoticed. Picture a seed buried deep in the earth. From the outside, the ground looks empty, lifeless, but beneath the soil, roots are growing, foundations are forming, life is stirring. Your prayers are that seed. You may not yet see the sprout, but the roots are already spreading. Soon, life will break the surface. And now, I invite you to act prophetically. In the comments, write this number, 4,444. Do not treat it as coincidence. 4,444 is a number of stability and divine foundation. It represents the pillars God is setting in place, pillars of faith, hope, and endurance that cannot be shaken. When you write it, you are declaring, I will not be moved. I will not abandon my post. I will remain as a pillar until the one I carry steps into freedom. And this is not superstition. It is alignment. Every time you write 4,444, you are not only reminding yourself of your calling, but also testifying to the unseen realm that your feet are planted firmly in God's promise. You are standing like a house built on solid rock, immovable against the winds of discouragement. Chosen one. Never underestimate the power of these moments. Small acts of faith ripple far beyond what you see. Just as Joshua's stones told a story for generations, your declaration will tell a story to your own soul. A reminder that you stood firm when it mattered most. So let your spirit settle into this truth. You are not drifting. You are not faltering. You are becoming a pillar. And your stability is opening the way for someone else's breakthrough. And when you type those 4 digits, 4,444, you are not just filling a comment space. You are carving a marker into the timeline of your life. Like a soldier inscribing his vow on stone, you are saying, I am stationed here, and I will not leave my post. Every number in Scripture carried meaning. 3 days pointed to resurrection. 12 tribes pointed to government and order. 40 days spoke of testing and preparation. And 4 has always been a picture of foundation, 4 corners of the earth. 4 winds. 4 living creatures around God's throne. Writing 4,444 is like stacking stone upon stone, declaring that your faith will not crumble even when storms rage. Imagine a great fortress. Its walls are not built overnight. They are laid brick by brick, stone by stone. Your prayers are those stones. Each one looks small on its own, but together they form a wall that cannot be breached. By writing 4,444, you acknowledge that you are not just offering random words, you are building a fortress around the one you love. A stronghold of mercy and intercession that darkness cannot penetrate. And one day, when you look back, you will see that this number was not just symbolic, it was a turning point. A reminder that when you could have quit, you chose to stand. When you could have let go, you chose to build. When the enemy whispered, "Give up," you instead declared, 4,444, the pillars of heaven's endurance holding you firm. Chosen one. Let your heart rest in this. You are not shifting sand. You are not a fragile reed swayed by the wind. You are a pillar set by God's own hand. And through your stability, Someone else's story is being rewritten. Your faith disarms darkness. It may not look like it, but every time you refuse to give up, you strip the enemy of his weapons. The devil thrives on fear, discouragement, and despair. But when you hold to faith, when you whisper, "I still believe," even with trembling lips, his plans collapse like walls without a foundation. Think of Paul and Silas in prison. Their hands and feet were chained, their backs bruised, their freedom gone. To the natural eye, darkness had won, but instead of surrendering to despair, they sang. Their songs were faith in motion, a light in the deepest night. And what happened? Chains fell, doors opened, and not only were they set free, but those around them encountered salvation. That is the power of faith. It does not just protect you, it liberates others. The scriptures declare in the first letter of John, chapter 5, verse 4, "This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith." Faith is not wishful thinking. It is a weapon forged in the fire of God's promises, and when wielded, it cuts through every scheme of the enemy. You may not feel powerful, but your persistence in faith terrifies hell. Picture yourself as a warrior holding a shield. Fiery arrows fly toward you. Doubt, fear, lies, accusations. The arrows are real, but they do not pierce you because your shield of faith deflects them. The enemy grows frustrated, powerless, when he sees that no matter how many arrows he launches, you remain standing. And it does not end there. Your faith is contagious. Just as fire spreads when it touches dry wood, your perseverance ignites courage in others. Someone is watching you, maybe silently, maybe from afar. They see that you have not quit, and it stirs something in them. If they can keep believing, maybe I can too. In that way, your faith becomes a torch passed from hand to hand, pushing darkness back, one heart at a time. Consider also the image of a storm. Winds roar, waves crash, lightning splits the sky. Boats sink when they surrender to the chaos, but your faith is like an anchor that holds fast to the seabed. You may be tossed, but you are not lost. And because your anchor holds, others tether themselves to you, finding stability in your endurance. Do not mistake trembling for weakness. Even shaky faith is still faith. Peter walked on water, and though he sank when he looked at the waves, he still stepped out while the others stayed in the boat. Faith is not measured by perfection, but by movement, by the willingness to trust God enough to keep going when everything tells you to stop. The person you are interceding for is living under shadows they may not even recognize. Darkness blinds, chains, and deceives. But your faith creates breaches in those walls. Every prayer you speak, every time you choose not to quit, you are hammering at the gates of their captivity. And one day, the gates will fall, because no prison built by darkness can withstand the persistence of faith rooted in God. Think again of Jericho. The walls stood tall, fortified, impenetrable, yet Israel circled them in faith, day after day, until at last the shout brought them crashing down. Faith is rarely dramatic in the beginning. It is often repetitive, steady, even unnoticed, but it accumulates power until the final moment when everything shifts. Chosen one. That is what you are doing. Your faith is circling the walls of someone's life. It may look pointless now, but each lap is closer to victory. And when the final lap is complete, what seemed unshakable will crumble, and freedom will stand in its place. So let your faith rise. Do not despise small acts of trust. They are greater than you realize. They are not only protecting you, they are dismantling darkness, brick by brick, until the light of Christ floods in. And when that light breaks through, you will realize that your faith was never just about survival. It was about transformation. The person you carried in prayer will look at you and say, "Because you did not stop believing, I found the strength to rise." Your faith becomes a bridge they walk across, a song that awakens them, a shield that protected them in their darkest nights. Chosen one. This is why your endurance matters so much. Faith is not abstract. It is living, breathing, moving through you. Every day you choose to trust. You are part of heaven's plan to rewrite a life that once seemed lost. And one day, you will stand in awe, knowing that the same faith that disarmed darkness also built a testimony of light that will echo for generations. You are their intercessor. This is not a role you chose. It is a mantle God placed upon you. Intercessors are not simply people who pray occasionally. They are those who stand in the gap, refusing to let judgment or despair swallow a soul. You have been entrusted with a holy responsibility to lift their name before heaven until mercy completes its work. Intercession is woven throughout the scriptures. Abraham interceded for Lot and the city of Sodom, daring to ask God again and again if he would spare the righteous. Moses stood before God on behalf of Israel when they turned to idols, pleading for mercy until wrath was turned away. Esther risked her life to intercede for her people before the king, and Jesus himself prayed for Peter, declaring that even though Satan desired to sift him like wheat, his faith would not fail. To intercede is to mirror the heart of God. It is to carry someone else's burden as though it were your own. It is to step between them and destruction, standing like a shield in the night. Many will love when it is easy, but few will intercede when it is costly. That is what sets you apart. The prophet Ezekiel recorded God's lament in chapter 22, verse 30. I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land, so I would not have to destroy it. But I found no one. But in your generation, God did find someone. He found you. When others turned away, you stayed. When others judged, you prayed. When others said, "They are hopeless," you whispered, "God, have mercy." Heaven noticed. Intercessors often go unseen. Your prayers are rarely public. Your tears rarely noticed. Your labor rarely acknowledged. But in heaven, your name is recorded. Every petition rises like incense before God's throne. Every sigh is translated into words by the Spirit himself. Every hour of waiting becomes a testimony written into eternity. Think of yourself as a wall around a city. Without that wall, the enemy would rush in, unchecked. With it, the city is guarded. That is your position in the Spirit. You are the wall of prayer surrounding the one you carry. They may never fully understand the battles you fight, but they are alive and protected because you have stood watch. And yes, it can feel lonely. To be an intercessor is to walk roads many do not understand. You see things others overlook. You feel burdens others dismiss. You fight wars others cannot name. Yet this loneliness is not abandonment. It is evidence of your calling. God sets apart his watchmen on the walls, giving them vision others do not carry. Consider also how intercession changes you. In carrying their breakthrough, you discover deeper wells of patience, love, and perseverance within yourself. You are drawn closer to God's heart because you begin to feel what He feels. When you cry over them, you are tasting His tears. When you long for their freedom, you are sharing His desire. Intercession is not just about their salvation, it is about your transformation. Picture a mother bird sheltering her chicks under her wings. The storm rages. Rain beats down, but the wings remain open, shielding fragile life beneath. That is what your intercession looks like in the Spirit. You are spreading the wings of prayer over someone too weak to survive the storm on their own, and there will be fruit. You may not see it today, but intercession never dies. It may take years, even decades, but every prayer becomes part of a harvest. Many testimonies began with a faithful intercessor who refused to quit. And one day, the one you carry will stand as living evidence that God listens when His chosen ones pray. Chosen one, embrace this mantle fully. You are not merely hoping they are tied to your prayers. You are not simply wishing they are shielded by your persistence. You are their intercessor, and heaven delights in your faithfulness. And when heaven reveals the outcome of your prayers, you will understand the weight of your calling. The one you carried will stand free, and their story will echo through eternity. Someone prayed, someone stood, someone refused to let go, and that someone was you. Chosen one, never doubt the hidden power of intercession. You are shaping futures, changing destinies, and rewriting endings. Even when no one applauds, even when no one notices, heaven leans in, listening to every word. And the day will come when both you and the one you fought for will stand side by side, crowned not with your own glory, but with the evidence of God's faithfulness. Do not walk away now. You have carried too much, endured too long, prayed too deeply to stop at the edge of breakthrough. This moment is not a valley of endings, it is the threshold of transformation. The weight you feel is not a sign to retreat, it is proof that birth is near. Think of a mother in labor. The pain grows sharper, the pressure unbearable. But those final moments of travail are always the closest to new life. The urge to quit comes strongest right before the miracle arrives. That is why heaven whispers, hold on, do not give up now. Not when the story is about to shift. The scriptures declare in Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36, you need to persevere, so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Chosen one. That verse is your heartbeat today. Every prayer, every tear, every sacrifice has been a seed. And though the ground may look barren, the harvest is already pushing beneath the soil. Soon, what you have carried in faith will stand visible in front of you. And while you wait, let me speak with gentle honesty. This journey is not meant to be borne in silence. Just as one flame can light another, just as one hand can lift another, your endurance is strengthened when shared. That is why I invite you, not as an obligation, but as a beautiful act of unity, to let your heart respond. When you like these words, think of it as placing another log on the fire. The flame already burns, but your small act makes the fire brighter, warmer, able to reach others who are cold in their waiting. When you share, imagine a lantern passed from your hand to someone lost in the dark. They may never know where the light came from, but it guides them home. Your share becomes a lantern in another person's night. When you subscribe, picture yourself as one who keeps returning to a well of living water. Each time you come back, you drink deeply again, and every return reminds heaven, I am thirsty. I am listening. I am ready to be filled. And when you comment, do not see it as simple words. See it as engraving your declaration into stone. Every word becomes a testimony, not only to you, but to those who read after you, reminding them that someone else chose to stand. Finally, when you feel led to donate, imagine pouring oil into a lamp. The flame is already alive, but your oil makes sure it never runs out, never dims, never leaves someone wandering in the shadows. Or think of it as planting a seed in a hidden field. To the eye, it seems small, almost invisible, but in the right season, it will rise as a tree, offering shade and fruit to countless souls. Hear this clearly: you are never forced. This is never demanded. These are invitations, acts of beauty that carry meaning far beyond the moment. Whether you engage through prayer, through action, or through generosity, every step is sacred. Heaven does not measure the size of the act, only the sincerity of the heart. Picture it all together: a fire blazing, a lantern glowing, a well overflowing, a stone engraved, a lamp burning, a tree growing. These are the images of what happens when chosen ones like you choose to respond, not out of duty, but out of love, not for recognition, but because you believe in light spreading farther than your own reach. Chosen one, do not walk away now. You are at the edge of harvest, the brink of transformation. Stay, stand, and respond as your heart is led, for every act of faith, no matter how small, becomes part of the tapestry. Heaven is weaving threads of endurance, hope, and glory that will never fade. And when you look back, you will see how every little act, every like, every share, every word sown, every offering poured was not a small gesture lost in time. It was a ripple, spreading farther than your eyes could see. Someone found courage because you dared to keep the fire burning. Someone chose hope because your light reached them. Someone's chains loosened because your generosity made the message flow. Chosen one. Heaven weaves beauty even from the smallest threads. What feels ordinary to you now will one day be revealed as extraordinary in eternity. Do not underestimate the weight of what you sow today, for in the hands of God, nothing is wasted, and every seed grows into a harvest of glory. There comes a point in every journey where the waiting feels endless. You look around and nothing seems to change. The person you are standing for may still walk in shadows. Their choices may still wound. Their heart may still seem distant. In those moments, the temptation to surrender grows heavy, yet it is precisely there, in the silence of delay, that God does his deepest work. Delay is not denial. Heaven often works in rhythms that human eyes cannot measure. The seed does not sprout the day it is planted. Winter must pass before spring awakens the soil. And so it is with the one you carry. Though you may see no visible signs of life, deep beneath the surface, roots are forming, unseen but essential. The scriptures remind us in Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will surely come, not delay." That verse is a promise for you. What God has whispered to your heart is not an illusion. The restoration you long for is not a fantasy. The vision has a time, and though it tarries, it will arrive exactly when heaven intends. Think of Joseph, languishing in prison. Years passed. Dreams felt forgotten. Yet every day in obscurity was preparation for the throne he would one day occupy. Had he been released too early, the fullness of his destiny would not have been ready. Likewise, the person you are interceding for is being prepared in ways you cannot see. Delay is shaping them, humbling them, positioning them for a future that only God knows. Waiting is not passive. It is not folding your hands and doing nothing. Waiting is warfare. It is continuing to pray when your heart aches. It is choosing to bless when bitterness tempts you. It is standing guard when you feel tired. Waiting is active trust, an offering laid daily at God's feet. Picture a sculptor chiseling stone. The process seems slow, even endless. Chips fall one after another, but to the untrained eye, no masterpiece appears. Yet the sculptor knows each strike is necessary, shaping beauty that only patience can reveal. God is sculpting both you and the one you love. Each strike of delay, each season of silence, is forming something more glorious than quick answers ever could. And yes, waiting changes you. It strips away pride. Teach perseverance. Deepens compassion. The longer you wait, the more you learn to rely not on visible progress, but on God's unseen hand. This is why Scripture calls waiting a blessing, for it forges endurance, hope, and character in the heart of those who remain. Chosen one, do not despise the waiting. You may feel like nothing is happening, but heaven is orchestrating more than you know. Angels move in response to prayers. Chains loosen slowly until they finally break, and hearts soften gradually until they suddenly surrender. What feels like stagnation is often the build-up to sudden acceleration. Remember Elijah on Mount Carmel. He prayed for rain. Yet after each prayer, his servant returned with the same report. There is nothing. 6 times. Not change. But on the 7th, a cloud appeared as small as a man's hand. That tiny cloud carried the promise of a downpour. Likewise, you may not yet see the full storm of breakthrough, but the smallest signs, an unexpected word, a softened glance, a moment of openness carry the weight of heaven's answer. So steady your heart. The vision waits, but it will not lie. The God who began this work will bring it to completion. Your waiting is not wasted. It is sacred ground where faith matures, hope deepens, and love proves its strength. And when the appointed time comes, the delay will make the miracle all the more radiant. You will see that the waiting was not punishment. It was preparation for a testimony that could not be written any other way. And when that testimony unfolds, you will see how every season of silence had purpose. Every unanswered prayer was not rejection, but timing. Every tear was not wasted, but watered the soil of breakthrough. The one you carried will stand before you, transformed. And you will say, It was worth it. The waiting was holy. Chosen one. Let this truth anchor you tonight. God's clock does not fail. His appointed time never drifts. Though you may feel suspended in delay, you are actually being aligned with His perfect design. Hold steady, breathe deep, and trust that the God who promised is faithful. The dawn will come, and when it breaks, it will carry a glory far greater than the night that preceded it. There will come a moment when everything hidden becomes visible. The prayers you whispered in the quiet will echo openly. The tears you shed in secret will water a harvest that all can see. The person you carried, the one heaven would not let you abandon, will one day stand in freedom, and the glory will belong to God alone. Chosen one. This is not wishful thinking. It is the rhythm of redemption woven through every page of Scripture. God does not begin what He will not finish. He does not plant what He will not bring to bloom. Every delay has led to this moment, a testimony forged in fire, refined by patience, crowned with grace. The Scriptures remind us in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Even the broken pieces are part of the story, even the detours, the failures, the years that felt wasted. They are all threads in the fabric of purpose. The enemy thought he could destroy, but God has turned every scheme into soil for resurrection. Think of Joseph again, standing before the very brothers who betrayed him. Once, he was a boy in a pit, then a prisoner in a dungeon. But at last, he stood as a ruler in Egypt, declaring, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That is the kind of ending your faith is writing. The one you carry may not see it now, but their story will echo Joseph's. What was once ruin will become redemption. Or picture Ruth, widowed, wandering, her future shattered. Yet, in her faithfulness, she stepped into a lineage that led to kings and, ultimately, the Messiah himself. What seemed like loss was the seed of glory. So it is with the person you stand for their pain, their wandering. Their broken path is being written into something holy. Chosen one, lift your eyes. You have stood in the shadows long enough. Begin to see with vision beyond what is in front of you. Imagine the day when they walk free, when their voice joins yours in praise, when their testimony inspires others who are still bound. That day is not far. It is being prepared even now. And in that day, you will not boast in your endurance, but in God's faithfulness. You will know it was His mercy that sustained you, His strength that held you, His promises that anchored you. Your role was simply to refuse to quit, to remain when walking away seemed easier. And that refusal became the doorway to a miracle. Think of a tapestry woven on a loom. Up close, the threads look tangled, chaotic, senseless. But when the weaver turns the cloth, the pattern emerges, a work of beauty you could not see while it was being made. Your story, and theirs, is like that tapestry. From this side, it may look messy, but soon, heaven will turn it, and you will see the masterpiece. Chosen one, let hope breathe again in your heart. The end is not despair, it is deliverance. The conclusion is not abandonment, it is adoption, restoration, glory. What God begins, Hey perfects, and you are living proof that those who stand, those who intercede, those who love relentlessly will see the goodness of God in the land of the living. So walk forward now with assurance. You have done your part. Heaven has recorded every act of faith, and soon you will witness the fruit, a life transformed, a destiny restored, a story redeemed. And when that moment arrives, it will feel like stepping into sunlight after years of night. The shadows will break, and every prayer you thought was lost will rise around you as evidence that God never forgot. You will hear laughter where once there were only sighs, see freedom where once there were chains, and taste joy where once there was only sorrow. Chosen one. Let your spirit hold on to this vision. See them standing beside you, clothed not in shame, but in grace. No longer stumbling, but walking in strength. That day will come, not because of your power, but because the God who called you is faithful. And as you stand in awe, you will know deep within it was all worth it. Every waiting night, every hidden tear, every quiet prayer, they were the labor pains of a miracle. And the miracle will not be late. Chosen one. We have walked this journey together, from the weight of waiting to the glory of promise. And now the story rests in your hands. You have been reminded not to give up, not to surrender the person on your heart, and not to let hope fade. The same God who sustained you through every silent night will also bring you into a day of joy. But as we close, let me speak to you softly and clearly. The flame does not end here. It continues to burn as long as you choose to tend it. And tending it can be as simple as one small act. When you like this message, it is more than a click. It is like adding another stone to the altar, saying, "Here, I choose to stand in faith." When you share, imagine placing a candle into another weary traveler's hand. Someone you may never meet could find direction because you were willing to pass on the light. When you subscribe, think of it as returning to a well. Visit. You draw again from living water, and your soul is refreshed for the road ahead. When you comment, your words are not just seen by me, they are seen by others who need courage. Your testimony, even in one line, becomes a lifeline to a stranger. And if you ever feel led to donate, let it be like pouring oil into a lamp. The flame already burns, but your gift keeps it shining, reaching farther into places where darkness has lingered too long. Know this, you are not pressured, only invited. Every act is voluntary, beautiful, and sacred. Whether you sow in action, prayer, or generosity, you are part of this unfolding story of light. Chosen one. Do not give up. The best is still ahead, and heaven is smiling over your faith.